Right, welcome everyone to tonight's strategy and policy meeting on Thursday, the 22nd of May. Are there any apologies for absence?
No, I haven't had any.
Because I've heard one from Palm shortly.
Oh, you've heard
Yeah,
one, have you?
okay,
Okay, fine. Right, okay, thank you. Agenda item 2 is to remind anyone if they got any interest to declare on the business to be transacted, any affected interests or disclosable pecuniary interests. Please do so now, or you can do so during the meeting. Moving on to agenda item 3, the minutes to the Strategy and Policy Committee held on the 27th of, no, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
27th of
March.
March, not May, March. Any comments on pages 1705, 1706, 1707 and 1708. Okay, good. I'll take those as a true record. I will sign them later. Moving on to agenda. Sorry?
Need a vote.
Oh, yeah, sorry. In that case, can I propose that they're a true record? Do I have a seconder? Second, Graham, thank you. And all those in favour? That's unanimous. Agenda item 4, health and safety. Are there any health and safety items to be?
Yes, we did have a concern reported to us this week that there was a trip hazard pointed out. So it was on the pathway up at the back of the path as you're leading up to the bridge, the wooden bridge that goes out to the river.
Oh, yeah.
There was some of the terrain at the bottom of the path that was coming through and could potentially cause a trip hazard. So the lads have now made sure that that isn't exposed and fixed the area.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully they'll see that we've been reactive on it. Or we've done it quickly anyway, so.
Yeah, it was done the same day.
Excellent. In that case, agenda item 5, neighbourhood planning. Over to you, Dale.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a lot to report at the moment because we have just come to the end on the 19th of the pre-consult regulation 14 consultation period, which was to allow people to see an early draft of what the likely policies so far that came from the original consultation. And what we're now doing is looking to contact landowners whose land may be affected by the designation or the proposed designations of local green spaces. And if ever you want to understand about bureaucracy, then try dealing with the land registry. They are a bit of an interesting set of processes, and so we're in a bit of admin at the moment, but the next time we come out again to seek involvement, we're going to do some resident contact type sessions, and we're looking to have some like street stalls where we'll be available with simple handouts to say this is what neighbourhood plan, just to promote the fact that in the autumn the proper consultation on the proposals will be out, and the planners at Bratton Forest will have had consultations in from the statutory consultees,
Mm.
like highways and so forth. And we will have then been able to update our policies so they comply fully. And that's not likely to happen until the autumn. But before then, as I say, we're going to go on engaging with public and with businesses and landowners as best we can to ensure that people are aware of what is happening, and then ensure that if, as quite often happens, somebody didn't get something through their letterbox, they can see us out on a street corner or at like Family Fun Day, if we have a stall there, just to tell people about what's going on. That's all, it's low key, and that's where the next official start of things will be, as I say, in the autumn, when we can make proper formal consultations.
Okay, just a question on that. So is it our responsibility to go to the land registry for every single parcel of land that's in the proposal, or do we, if we know who it is, do we just go to that landowner and say, you're included?
Both. If we don't know who the landowner is, then we'll use the land registry. If we do know, and somebody says to us, and we've had people say, "Oh, that's so and so owns that," then we will write, and we have already written 5 letters, I think, to people who have been made aware are the landowners. So it's a mixture of both, but there are several bits where, for instance, down at Waterside, where the other hall is, that area down there, it's not clear who owns it because there's a management company involved. So I've got to go through the fill out the form, put it in, and an early contact with the land registry only costs you £7, and so that only tells you whether documentation is available, right? Because not everything is registered.
I was going to say, if it's registered,
If it's registered, then you have to fill in one of these. So I'd already committed to, I think, 3 lots of £7 just to check if the things are on the register, and then I have to application for official copies. This format, I have to do it, and you can't just email it off. You've got to put it in the post and all that sort of. That'll be lovely, won't it?
Bureaucracy for its own self.
Well, okay, come on, guys. There you are. But at least they'll know. But that's all we're at the moment. We're just making sure that at each step, the process is being carried out properly, and that when we hand it all over to Bracknell Forest to do the final stuff, that an inspector can't say, well, did you do that? Why didn't you do that? Could you have done? We want to make absolutely certain that all those opportunities have been exploited. We've done workshops and things like that, and we will do some more workshops if necessary. But at the moment, it's what we're told is the quiet period.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Next is agenda item 6, which is
decision.
Yeah, I was going to say this is decision.
It's always an
It's a-
ongoing decision item in case Dale has
It-
something that he
yeah,
needs.
if it's for us asking for money, we'd make a decision. It's not. So
I didn't have to ask for the £7. because we've already,
That's already done.
that's well within budget.
Good to hear.
Moving on to the next one, which is a decision item, on collaboration, with the SRA magazine. Because we're discussing costings, is this open?
So I've spoken to them to determine whether they're happy for us to talk about it in the open, and they said that they are now.
Okay, fine.
Which was the email that I sent out earlier
That's the
today.
email you
Yes,
sent out.
yeah, so that was sort of, they were umming and ahhing. At first they said no, but then they came back and said they were happy, so.
Right, when I saw that email, I thought you meant share it amongst the committee, not share it amongst the general public.
No, they were fine for us to do it.
Okay, fine. In which case I need to go and find that email, don't I? Oh, thank you. So- Right, so, we sharing what our current costs are.
Yes, so I put them on the paper, so we're currently doing 3 newsletters
Yeah.
per year.
Yeah.
The average of the 3 newsletter delivery is 1,245 each time. And
I've got 1515.
You've got 1515 here in the letter, but,
yeah, because it's an average out because it varies. And the last
Oh, right,
thing that Abracadabra delivered for us was the neighbourhood plan.
Sorry.
So it was slightly different.
okay, right.
But the newsletters are coming in around there as an average. And again, the printing varies because depends how many pages are going in, etc. But that does average out at around the 1655 mark.
Okay,
So that's 3 times a year that we're paying for that.
okay.
Yeah, and the STC is 4 times a year. They produce their magazine, isn't it, by comparison?
Yeah.
But actually, the timing aren't too bad because March we could do the awards. June we could do elections. And December we could do remembrance. So
Yeah, well, that's when
fits in with
we
our-
issue ours anyway. So we do
But
the
There's 4 times a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we always issue after the civic service, so it depends when that is. Because obviously some mayors have it later, some have it in February. We do the one after the mayor making each year, and then we do one after remembrance each year.
So it would fit in quite
So yeah, it would fit in with that. And we don't have to have 4. If we still just want to have 3, we can have 3. If we want to have 4, we can have 4. That will be, that's for this committee to decide.
Oh, right,
I was
okay.
about to say,
Yeah,
that
right.
if we coincide with them for 4, I think that's a good
I
idea.
personally think if we're doing it, we need to be every edition.
I can't a blank effectively then.
So that's currently just shy of 9 grand a year for us.
8,700.
Yeah.
But yeah, I rounded it up to 1,300 for some reason because the other one had been more expensive. So
Would delivery still be necessary? Because
No.
SRA guys have got
No, we would just do that.
for the love of it. Yeah.
that's the point. The point is that we're looking at our total cost now against what it would be if it was in the SRA,
Yeah.
because they're looking at what is it?
3,800 per issue.
No, their current print costs, and they get 2,000 of that per
Yeah,
issue. So
yeah.
the deficit is £1,800
Yeah.
per issue, which is 7,200. Yeah, 7,200. Currently costing us 8,850. So we're not beyond the realms of where we need to be. So it wouldn't be more expensive than it currently is to do 4 issues a year.
It's to be expected that the cost of printing will continue to rise.
I'm sure, but then again, they would rise for us as well.
It will, yes, agreed. And
So yeah,
Well, I was looking at our cost and their cost. So if we met at 7.5, which is a little bit more than them because they might lose some advertising costs, but it's still cheaper for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're still making a saving for us, for ourselves, but we're benefiting because we're having 4 per year instead of 3 per year.
What have they asked us to decide on? A number? or-
So, well, firstly, we've not actually had a decision as to whether we're going to do this.
Yeah. Okay.
With my conversations that I had with, Mike and Richard, and Mike did say he'd be here this evening, but obviously maybe he's got held up somewhere. Was that we would be looking to have a 6 to 8 page insert in the middle of their magazine, so it would still be completely separate. They actually made a suggestion, which I thought was really good, that on the front cover, obviously how they advertise it as the SRA, they actually have us on there as well, whether how that's
Including,
worded,
sounds
yeah,
good.
including or something like that.
Featuring, special edition insert.
Yeah, but so that it is on there, which is a good thing. So we've spoken about the distribution, and as I said, I think it'd be a great idea to be in all of them. If people are getting used to looking for us in there, then we don't want them to be confused when we're not in there. We've gone through the current costs. I would suggest, well, I have said to them that in our piece, there's to be no advertising whatsoever because it is still our separate magazine.
Yeah.
And I have also said that the editing rights belong to us for that. So we won't be giving it to them for them to fiddle about with. We will still edit it. They can check it for typos and that gladly, but the actual content and layout will be edited.
Story integrity.
Absolutely, yeah. Which they were happy with too. And I think that if we do go ahead, we need to, in our last one, which could potentially be the one we're just waiting now to go to print, see what happens tonight. We should just put an announcement on that to tell everybody that you can now find us in here.
Yeah, makes sense.
Are we going to take the opportunity to change the identity of this
I was going to suggest that as well.
council? We currently call it Sandhurst Pride.
Yeah.
Is this not a suitable opportunity to
Rename.
rebrand it?
We,
We would have to consider that separately because this agenda item is purely for the collaboration. So renaming or reformatting the actual newsletter would have to be
I
separate.
thought you didn't you mention
A resident,
name change?
well, a resident had said to me that we just put it straight in recycling because he thought it was gang propaganda.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I said that when I first joined, like years and years ago, when I was in council the first time, and they laughed at me and said I was being foolish to.
There have been a number of similar comments.
No,
So-
but
So
that's when I joined.
if they do the collaboration,
We could certainly look at rebranding as an agenda
Yeah,
item
but-
next time.
I would suggest we would need to rebrand for the first.
Yeah, well,
Have
we can discuss that in July's meeting.
we
Yeah.
got time?
Yeah,
to-
because we're not appearing in their June edition because it's too late for
That's
this
too late.
meeting.
That's good.
So their next one will be September. So our
Fine.
July meeting, we can look at rebranding in the July.
We can put one, a flash on the one we're doing, which is going to print for Sandhurst,
Yeah.
which will then say, this is the last edition. In future,
You can find
We're-
us.
We're joining with the SRA, look
Yeah.
for the new.
You'll find us in the centre pages of.
Good idea.
Can actually say that.
Yeah, we've got that. Yeah, that's exactly what we'll do. But we won't put on there the name. We'll just put this magazine will now be found in the SSA, blah de blah. And yeah, and I think obviously I'll draft it and run it past the chair, but I think we should mention in there as well the reason that we're doing it, not just we've suddenly decided, to assist with
yeah.
I think people will appreciate
I
it.
think
the
people
continuation of the
because
SRA.
there's
Yeah.
so much confusion with so many different publications.
Oh, I don't-
Dawn.
I just think it's an opportunity to help them. I think perhaps if this hadn't occurred, we would still carry on, and that's fine and that's great. It served a purpose. But if we can help them, it sort of helps both parties.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get my head around this. Forgive me. So they're saying that our Sandhurst Pride would be an insert within the SRA.
Yes.
not
So
a detachable, sorry, not a detachable,
Not a detachable.
not a
Because I was
supplement.
going to say
Like
that's
6 pages in the middle.
because I was going to say that
It's still stapled in.
Still stapled in, so you could take it out as an insert.
Graham, it's part of the overall magazine stapled in,
okay. So
so it'll be the centre section of it.
the
Think of
theory
how you
is-
get your TV pages in like your paper or whatever, it's part of
The
it.
football bit in the middle
Yeah.
of the Daily Mail.
yeah, okay, so that's what it would be, like an insert. So it will be detachable.
No,
No,
Not at all.
it'll be stapled in.
You pull it out.
It's all part of a physical
So
document.
So it's saving costs because in theory, we wouldn't have separate printing costs. Then it would all be printed in one bundle.
Yes, we don't then have printing or delivery costs, because currently we have delivery costs.
so it means that that the EO can provide copy to the SRA. We don't have to get it typeset. We can do, here's our copy, here's our images. You go and put it in your magazine.
No, we're not doing that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Oh,
So my,
Yeah, we'll still do the whole magazine, and hold all of the editorial rights to that magazine. And then we will give the completed article to them.
yeah, I've read completed article, yes, but I just assume they would then drop it into their template format, saving you on artwork. But if you're doing artwork, fair enough.
Sorry.
so it's going to sit in the middle of this. So because I, at the moment, obviously do know what the Sandhurst Pride leaflet is, I do quite like getting that and do obviously read it quite a lot. It's a good thing to get through. So how much do we think if we put the two together, will it dilute that message? I guess is my thought process, because, and people you might say, but really, because if you get it, the SRA is like a little booklet.
Yeah.
Whereas Sandhurst Pride is normally, am I wrong, sort of an big A4, so it needs to be folded. And I'm not throwing a downer because it sounds like everyone's very positive for this, but I do quite personally like having that. Do you see what I mean? The
I
A4
think-
side.
If I may, I think more people are going to read
Mm.
because more people read the SRA magazine than any other
Yeah.
of the magazines going through the door,
And
right? And I think
another incident when I agree with you.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I would also say people.
Well, this
hold
is-
on to-
this can't be allowed. So no, I think that one of the reasons why I'm pleased with this concept is it will get to our residents in a way that takes less time to get into the recycling. Because the SRA magazine is often kept and held.
That is true,
Yeah.
actually.
And all
That
this.
is true.
I don't see
I
many
do
people.
keep the SRA magazine.
Things.
This is-
Yeah.
The SRA magazine always goes in my drawer and I keep it for local.
That's
you know,
true.
Exactly.
face people.
I've- I've-
Sandhurst Directory, which is advertising for just goes
straight in there.
Sucked in there. Yeah.
And foremost,
So
Yeah.
I'm confident in answer to that point,
Mm.
that by having our 6 or whatever it is pages in the middle of a magazine that gets widely read, we will get whatever the information or messages that the council is trying to get across or celebrate. We will get that to more people.
So just sorry, because I hadn't quite finished before.
Oh, so
Sorry. One last thing, and I'm pretty sure that it's already been said. So the idea, because obviously they are going to become one, two things become one, but it will clearly say, and at the moment is Sandhurst Pride, it'd be like SRA, Sandhurst Residents Association, including Sandhurst Pride. Is that the kind of
when you
thought
get to
of
the,
new
when you
brand?
get to the first page of our
Section.
technical pull-out or whatever, it will say Sandhurst Pride or whatever title we give it at the time.
But I know on the very front cover, are we going to have
Yes,
like a,
yes.
But in that case, it sounds great. I just was playing devil advocate. I wasn't.
Just 2 really quick questions. If we are rebranding, do we know what we want to rebrand to yet, or is it
No.
something to be discussed?
That will be in the next, yeah.
So how will you manage suggestions? Will it be at that meeting, or do you want to all people or?
I'm not going up to consultation.
No.
with the registrar.
No, I mean, my
If you want to put any ideas in beforehand, that's fine. If we want to discuss them on the night, that's fine. The
Okay.
decision will be made on the night. So.
Okay, and my other question was thinking about reducing costs. It's very thick paper that the whole magazine is printed on. Could you get the printers to do the thick paper on the outside to give it rigidity for posting and have
We
thinner?
won't be doing the printing at all.
Is it a suggestion we could make to the SRA guys to reduce their costs?
They have looked at doing a cheaper paper in the
Have they?
past, yeah, and it's not been.
I also
Not
did a
got the same
comparison
quality.
with our printers as well, just to make sure that some figures that they were quoting were about right. And actually our print, they've got quite a good deal. And they did say that because they've been there for a long time,
They get
they get good rates. And our printers actually quoted nigh on £1,000 more than them. So it's quite a good deal at the moment.
May I suggest that keeping the quality of the
As it is.
that it as it is will assist in seeking advertising, because if you downgrade to a newspaper type of quality, you're not going to get the advertisers wanting. But you know what I mean. If you change, but so if you keep it with a nice glossy front and everything, then the people that do advertise in it will still feel confident in it being a quality production.
Right.
Actually, that is what is a good point about that is how much of a say would we actually have in terms of suggestions for things like the paper quality or exactly, it's not up to us, but would it be up to us for our section? Do you see what I mean? Are we losing that power?
But essentially we're advertising, for want of a better phrase. We're funding their advertising, giving them our content. You know, if you were to take an advert in the Sunday Times magazine, you can't dictate or influence their editorial policy, their paper grammage, their paper weight, whether it's full colour, half, two colour, whatever. You just go, I'm paying my money, here's my content. And I'm assuming that that's kind of what would be the same. They're not looking to us to take over the magazine. I think they're looking for us to come together in a partnership where they benefit, residents benefit because we still get the magazine, we benefit.
But it is an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's going to be slightly more than that, Lee, because we're not paying the going rate, obviously, advertising.
Yeah.
So I do think perhaps, just figuring a thought there, I think there should perhaps be some sort of caveat on there, because what are we going to do if, but they went off and did something crazy and then assume that we're just going to cover it. So I think the amount that we say is set, and if they have an increase, they need to come to us to see whether we're willing to fund that, or they have to, or some sort of provisos, so that we do have some sort of not a say over what they do, but some sort of
collaboration.
Like that question, is there a way that it can be, different paper or whatever? I just a thought when you said it. I thought,
yeah.
I'm aware when I spoke to Diane Allen Wilson about reducing the paper thickness, that it's not practical, because if you reduce it, what you tend to get is bleed of the ink, and when it runs through to the next page, it becomes wafer thin. The other thing also that obviously our photographs will have to be smaller, presumably, because you're going down from an A4 to an A5 size. The print font will also have to change to mirror, presumably, the font size that is used by the SRA.
Not necessarily.
I look better in a smaller photo, the smaller the better. If it can go microscopic, then finally everyone agrees for something. Yeah.
But also the other thing that will happen, they will continue, I believe, to encourage the public to make donations, as they have done in the past. That will continue, although they are solvent at the moment.
Right. Can I just propose that we do go in a collaboration with the SRA and for the initial term for the amount of 7,500, because that's more than their deficit at the moment, but less than they're currently paying.
1 year?
For the next 12 months, and then
For 4 editions.
Yeah, for 4 editions. and I'll be quite happy, I'll be quite happy to continue, but it depends how much they're going to put it up. You know, if they decide it's going to be 20% more expensive next year, you might bulk at that. So I think we need to
Have an annual
almost
review.
do an annual review on the next
Yeah.
12 months costs. So for this 12 months, I think 7,500 is a fair number.
I'm happy to
I've
second
seconded
that. Oh,
Okay.
Sorry.
And we would pay it in instalments then, would we? Every, or lump sum.
We could pay it as a lump sum.
No, I was suggesting.
But if they then decided not to carry on, they would have to refund us the pro rata.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, I just being devil's advocate.
I'll leave that to the executive officer to decide how you need to fund it. And it's fine. All those in favour? You haven't got a clue what you. Oh.
You can't vote, Nicky, because you don't get a proposal, but it's fine.
So unanimous. Right, okay. Shall move on. To mayoral allowance.
Is there an allowance?
Yes,
Yes.
always has been.
Yeah, exactly.
So the mayor, I mean, just as a bit of background, the mayor always has an allowance because it allows them to it covers travel budget, but it also allows them to pay the entrance fee or whatever, you know, the tickets, the ticket fees, etc., to go to certain events, because some mayors charge for their events when they're going, you know, cross border and stuff like that. So it allows them to do things like that. So there's always been allowance, but mainly it's there to cover the travel costs.
It's not a lump sum paid to.
It's not a lump sum paid to the mayor, correct?
no. And traditionally, isn't it, if there is some left over, the mayor often gives it to their charity.
Yes.
That's right.
Well, yes. I mean, when I was a mayor, I never claimed a penny and gave it all to charities.
Yeah, most of them to charity, yeah.
Don't think I claimed any, you know.
I think probably for clarification, I've travelled extensively in disabled taxis over the last 18 months or so. And I'm working with Ange and Darcy very closely to make sure that the costs that STC pay are reasonable. And it is very expensive for costs, but the company that I found in Woking are cheaper than what we found more local. So STC are saving money, and the lady that took me out this afternoon to a mayoral event, she has a daughter who is disabled herself. So I do feel safe with that particular company. The one time that I used a company, or the borough contracted a company to move me around, I didn't feel safe. No seatbelt was put on me, the cab mounted, the pavement, etc. And having fallen out of the chair about 4 weeks ago, it's a very daunting experience. So as far as I'm concerned, the company that I've found takes very good care of me, but I don't want STC to pay over the odds.
So let me just come back to it. So the reason we're actually here to make a decision, because to make allowances for the fact we have a mayor with disabilities at the moment, we have additional costs which the current mayor allowance would not permit. Doesn't cover the taxes for all the mayoral events. And what we're looking to do is increase the mayoral allowance to make allowances for that.
So on a
So,
temporary
can I ask
basis.
what the cost was today?
Sorry.
I've got some costings to go
Yeah.
through.
So So if you'd like to go through the costing plan.
Yeah, so we've been out to 3 people, one of which this is the one that Paul has mentioned. So the journey today was from here to Bracknell
Yeah, for learning.
Open Learning Centre, and that was done at a charge of £45 each way. Another quote that we had for it for the round trip was £140. And a further one from a very local company, which we've actually used for transport yesterday for the Royal Garden Party. First of all, came back with £35 each way, which was great. So we booked it. We went to Paul for all the details. They then phoned back, and I actually took the call and said that unfortunately the people have let them down. They're not reliable, and they had priced it incorrectly, and they couldn't guarantee that they would be able to be available all the time with the sort of needs that Paul has with not being able to transfer from the wheelchair. So I think that they're going to let him down, because the last thing we want is for Paul to be stranded or not to get to an event either.
Or even worse, not get back.
Yes.
You don't want to be stuck out.
Yeah, you don't want to be stuck somewhere.
No, I don't want to be stuck anywhere.
So those were the three costings on that. Obviously, taxis aren't cheap. So I know sort of the first one, £45 each way. That is a lot of money, but it's comparative, and it's the middle one of three, and seems to be a reliable one.
So can I ask, in terms of the number of, the general number of mayoral visits,
Thanks.
do we have a number in mind as to how much the taxes for all those visits would cost?
Well, it's really subjective, because it depends what you get invited to. Some years there can be, there's been sort of, I think you did about 30 odd, didn't you?
I did nearly 60.
You did nearly 60. So it can range between 30 to 60, not all of which are a distance, some are more local. But as I say, that really shows
My furthest was Hungerford and Ascot.
yes, that shows how wide the differential is between year to year and what we're invited to as well.
And how much is the current mayor's allowance?
£450.
It has been that for a long time, because when I was mayor back in,
Yeah,
It was that when I was.
it's not been
What's that,
changed
Nick?
since I've been here.
about 15
On board.
years
Yeah,
ago.
it's up there. 2011 to
It's
2013.
not been increased in my
It has
time.
never changed, which is ridiculous when you think about it. It should be, we thought by now it'd be £1,000 just to cover expenses.
I think it's not been changed though, because again, in my time,
Most
apart
people don't
from
change, can't,
one thing was taken out of it this year. But again, apart from that, every other year, the whole amount has gone to the charities. So I guess there's a train of thought that it's not been used. So
That's going to be my next question, which, how much, if the allowance is generally 450 a year, how much do mayors generally use out of that versus going to, so
Almost none. I only used it to go to another event. And the rest of I think the rest of
Presumably it covers private, it covers your own personal vehicle, reimbursement.
none of them ever claim that.
No one ever claims it, so.
no, I claimed it.
But that's what it's there, that's
there,
it's intended to do.
Yeah,
So
reimburse
if a mayor wishes to claim mileage,
So if they-
the mayor can claim mileage, yes.
Well, I don't even think we've got a claim form or anything like that.
So
No, but it's a bit different with Paul.
Yeah.
If it's 90 quid a trip,
Yeah.
then I can see why. But I guess the question then is, it's hard to put an exact budget on that. If it's 30 to 60, I mean, that's quite a big difference.
Well, just for a comparison, Graham, when I was at a care home in Camberley, I spoke to one of the local companies, and they were £40 more expensive than that company that comes from Woking.
I'm not questioning
That's a
that.
hell of a lot of money.
I'm not questioning that. I'm just saying that because of the fact that you need that taxi, it is understandable that you need the mayoral allowance, whereas previous years people haven't claimed it. That's a fair lot of whack if it's between 90 and.
So what's the actual proposal then?
I'm going to propose, because we actually don't know how many trips are made. Can I propose that we actually?
I was going to say, can we do so much and then review it in September? you know, to see how much, if we increase the amount now and then review it again in September to see, well, actually, it's not all spent that, or actually it needs to be
Rather
done.
than carry forward,
I
yes.
think we just choose a figure
I-
and then if we're getting close, we have to come back to the committee.
Yeah,
I was
but
going to
that's-
propose 4,500. This is sort of, mid.
For
Well,
what, for what?
Neil,
For example, the 450 is way too low. Well, we've been paying 450 probably for about 20, 30 years.
I understand,
Completely out of touch.
I understand that for, you know, £450 has stayed the same since, I was gonna say since the old king died, which is my expression somebody uses, my stepmother uses, but now we have a king, maybe we should change that. I understand it's not changed in a long time, but to go from 450 to 4,500 is a huge leap by anybody's imagination.
Yeah.
And I absolutely understand that, you know, the councillor there has,
Situation.
I understand that, but you know, the decision was made by not by myself and not by our team for you to elect him as deputy mayor and then mayor. And I, you know, nothing was considered about this beforehand. You know, when the budget was being done, £450 to £4,500, I think is a massive leap and not one that I'm afraid that I can support.
But I just would say, sorry, can I just say that the only thing is we shouldn't consider whether someone's disabled, whether or not we put them forward to be mayor or deputy mayor at all. And we need, we need to be able to make sure that every single person, we've used this term a lot, inclusivity. We absolutely have to make sure that that it's available. Yes, it is a big cost, but we can't exclude people from positions within the council. That's my opinion. Personally.
So the way I've come up with the 4.5 grand is that it's £90 a trip. So I'm rounding it to 100, right? And that's 45 trips, somewhere between the 30 and the 60, 4.5 grand. So it's 45 trips.
I
And
would
that's just about, that doesn't include the longer ones. There might be shorter ones, there might be longer ones.
People might
So
take
I'm-
you sometimes. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Paul.
what I would say is certainly I wouldn't take advantage of that. And one of the trips that I've been invited to is to Hartney Whitney. But where Michael is available and can take me in the evening in the minibus, then that is considerably cheaper than a taxi. And obviously, what I will propose is that we make a donation to the day centre for the use of the minibus. So certainly Nick's proposal of 4,500, I think, is reasonable. I know you've got a problem with it, Lee, but wherever I go, and like I say, I went to the Open Learning Centre this afternoon in Bracknell, I represent Sandhurst. And I want to do that to the best of my ability. And, you know, it's just, if you take, for example, the next full council meeting on the 19th of June, which I won't be at, which I've already briefed Graham, that's an invite to the Royal Military Academy, which I have been invited and my consort has been invited to represent Sandhurst. And I would like to go to represent the town at the academy, the same as anyone who is in the position of mayor would want to go to that event to represent the town.
Right.
I think the other thing that might be maybe worth thinking about with the jump, because it is, 450 to 4,500 is that there is a jump there, obviously. I guess at the end, and this is, next year, whoever's mayor, if they don't require that taxes, they would probably go back to the £450. I guess the other thing is, if at the end of the year, say for instance, Paul hasn't used much of that, whereas normally before we put the 450 or as close to it into the charity, maybe we could look at what we do with the funds at the very end.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important.
I was going to exclude that.
Yeah, I think that should be different, definitely.
Can I just add a point, please, that just for housekeeping and, you know, for extra measures here and of security, we are going to have an account with the taxi company and they will invoice us directly for on a month by month basis for all of the trips done. So we'll know exactly where we are. And just to go back on the point of why wasn't it included in the budget last year, we cannot preempt who the mayor is going to be until they're elected in May. So we weren't able to change the budget prior to knowing who the mayor was going to be. However, going forward, Paul is in a very unique situation, so we can look in the budget planning for next year to reduce it down because we won't need as much in there next time.
On seconding your proposal, because you did make a proposal.
I don't think it was quite as.
I hadn't actually fully done my proposal. So my proposal would be to increase the mayor's allowance to £4,500 for this financial year, or sorry, for this municipal year, mayoral year. With the caveat that at the end, if there is any excess, it isn't just donated to charity without coming to this committee first.
Excess or shortfall? What if in fact it's
So if there's a residual still left in the mayor's budget,
yes?
he can't just donate that to his charity.
Should
So
Should we have something?
Well, that just
But-
go
but-
back into general reserves if there's a residual.
Yes.
no, I wanted to come to this committee.
All right, okay.
Oh, yeah, 'cause we might still want to put it to charity.
Because there's nothing, essentially, other mayors have been able to, because they haven't made it claimed, put
Yeah.
it to charity, but he is making claims, so it is a bit different.
But this
So
is
I think it should come back to the committee to make.
We are in a unique situation, though, I feel. We've got human rights to consider, we've got disability to consider.
We should have something.
Sorry.
Is there room in your proposal that in the event of that not being enough to meet the
It would have to
level,
come back to review.
it comes back?
Absolutely. If there's not enough money, it would automatically come back to Stratford Health anyway. That's not,
No, no, that's fine.
so, I mean, Andrew will be monitoring on a month by month basis how much this is.
I'm still saying.
It would be, we'll have a couple of months' notice before we start running out of money.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. And also we have the busy period over the summer and the quiet period over the winter as well, generally. So, sorry, did you second that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anyone wish to debate? In that case, all those in favour? Those against?
Hazel, did you vote then?
No, I'm going to abstain.
Right, okay.
Those abstaining? Okay, 3 abstentions. That's passed. Okay, next item is GDPR, to review the GDPR policy in Annex 2.
I read it.
There's a lot of it.
There's a lot of it.
Does anyone have any questions on the GDPR policy? Where did it come from?
It's the standard
Yeah.
policy.
It's the standard stuff.
Released when GDPR came in for the parish and town councils.
Okay. I noticed it was approved and adopted on the 25th of January 2024. Is there a reason why it's coming back now? Because the policy review date was January 2026.
So that we get it in line, because not all of it is. So there was a couple of bits that were newer,
Okay.
and then the majority of it was June 23, review May 25.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, a couple of newer pieces, but so I've got it all back so that then we're all on a level playing field. So each time the whole lot can be reviewed.
This particular page says approved 1st of June 2023, review May 2023. That's quite clever, isn't it?
It's gonna have everything to.
Okay, so that should say review May 2025.
Right here, that.
Yeah, on my laptop, it says here, it says review May 2023. So that's the doc works.
I mean, obviously that's a typo.
That's in the retention and disclosure policy.
Yeah,
There's several parts to this.
the rest of it is May 2025.
Okay. Does anyone wish to propose any changes to the,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, carry on.
I've just quickly gone to Chat GPT, the artificial intelligence says, what are the changes in GDPR policy considerations that have happened in the last 2 years? And it's come up with 7 things. Simplified record keeping for SMEs, enhanced enforcement of personal accountability, stricter consent requirements, blah, blah, blah. Is that something we should consider? That there's been sort of policy, it's always shifting, isn't it? It's a moving target.
Yeah, so we do have an external data protection officer as well. So she lets us know if there's anything that we need to amend, hence why some of them are newer policies than others. So that was the last amendments that she recommended to us.
And when we review things like this in future, would it be easier to highlight things that have changed since the last version?
Yeah, nothing's changed since these versions.
So
The last version here.
we haven't made any changes to it since 2020.
No, so the ones that are newer, where the
24.
changes are, so 24.
January 24 was the last change.
Yeah, approved and adopted 24.
So there have been changes in sort of proposed policy according to ChatGPT. So should we be sort of checking what the advice is we're getting and whether it's accurate?
If that's what this committee want to do, we can go back. So can you read out what ChatGPT says?
It probably, well, I'll tell you the headlines. It says simplified record keeping for SMEs, subject matter experts.
Yeah.
That's not us.
Doesn't include,
No,
doesn't include counties.
no,
Is it?
no.
Is it also worth mentioning that technically the GDPR doesn't apply to the UK anymore anyway?
Yes, it does.
Does.
It certainly does.
It does.
They certainly
Well, it does.
In ChatGPT, no, can we stick to what we're doing?
Yeah. Enhanced enforcement and personal accountability,
Unless the new deal.
holding company executives personally accountable for compliance.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
so,
it's
so
not-
ChatGPT is giving you all the stuff which relates to commercial companies. These documents have been written specifically for councils.
And remember, ChatGPT is only as good as the information that's put in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
the
okay.
advice for anybody using Chat,
it's to check.
check what comes out of it.
It says, I've asked it, does it apply to local councils? And it says, yes, most of the recent GDPR changes and considerations do apply to local councils.
So nothing to do with company executives.
ChatGPT is not an expert witness for
Yeah.
me to consider.
I'm working on the fact that we do have a consultant that we retain to cover this particular area, and she hasn't recommended any changes since this was last written.
So if we fall foul of something that she hasn't recommended as a change, who do we hold accountable?
Our consultant,
How do we do that?
I don't know. We don't consult her anymore. I mean, I don't imagine that we're going to fall foul.
I'm doing a Graham here and being devil's advocate.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I think it's right.
Yes.
I
I'm
think
just thinking, let's say one of us makes a really bad mistake that costs us as a council a load of the public's money, but we've got no recompense with the person that's helped us with the policy.
Is that the UK GDPR or the EU GDPR? Because the EU is the one that we're not part of anymore. That's irrelevant, but
Let's have a look.
so it's still a good point that we should still be.
so. Okay. So we employ a consultant to do to do a job. We have to trust that the job is done. We have had breaches of GDPR in the last few months, where we have gone to the ICO. We've said there's a problem, and they've come back and said what our recompense should be, or whether whether we need to worry about it.
Fine.
So
So you said there that we trust the person. I used to be a software tester, and I would always check when somebody told me something. I would test what they're telling me is correct. So
It's only the same as when we get given financial regulations and standing orders from the experts.
okay.
We take on the templates and.
I mean, is
take-
there an opportunity to take some of this information and just check with this consultant that we use to say, you know, what can you tell us about whether we should be considering these things? And perhaps she could come back and say, no, it's not relevant because.
I guess it depends if they have professional indemnity insurance as well, and what agreement we have with them, whether it's covered, because ultimately the responsibility will be ours.
Yes,
Whatever,
I agree.
come hell or high water, because it may be that she says she takes responsibility, but then she can't cover it, doesn't have indemnity. So ultimately it's our thing.
And if something bad did happen, we're using residents' money, they would want to see that we'd done the right level of scrutiny to make sure that, you know, I can read the headlines now with the devil's advocate hat on. So am I making a proposal that we take these things and just double check before we sign it off? Perhaps.
Bring it back for the next meeting. And who are we double checking with?
Your advisor to say, we've just checked for ourselves some of these things. Can you tell us if these are relevant, and if they aren't, why they aren't?
We can do that, but her role is to notify us when things change. So, yeah, we can do that, but that's part of her role.
So the
So
GDPR.
I'm going to go and
So just for clarity, the guidelines here that we've got to sign off and approve have come from our advisor on GDPR.
They have come from the local government when they're initially distributed, and any changes she lets us know. Hence, as I said in the beginning, the couple with the different dates. She hasn't written those because they came through from local government when GDPR became a thing.
I don't think we've got a problem.
So I'm just very concerned about going up to our local consultant and saying, do we have any problems with ChatGPT says we need to consult our chief executives? No.
Someone has brought it to our attention that these things might be a consideration.
But some of those things you were mentioning, I wouldn't even take to the consultant because they're completely irrelevant. Like, you know, company executives, anything to do with company executives is somewhat irrelevant here.
I tell you what, that's fine. I take your point. You're the chair. I'll share it with you, Ange, but it's not an issue. I rescind my proposal. Yeah. Testing.
In which case, as we haven't found any particular items in here which need to be debated, can I suggest that we adopt or re-adopt the GDPR proposals as per the agenda?
Seconded.
Seconded by Michael. All those in favour? Against? Abstaining?
All right. Sorry, I don't think it's a bad thing to question here.
Okay.
I do.
I don't. And,
Question is always.
But you can approve it and then still question.
Right, okay, next one is Personnel Subcommittee. To appoint the third member of the Personnel Subcommittee. Well, I'd like, so currently, the person who's standing down is Jean. It's currently myself and Hazel. Well, it would change anyway because it's the chair and vice chair plus one other. And I would like to propose that the third member.
Oh, I was going to say, can I say that I was the one other, but now I've become
You
the
were the
vice chair,
Now she's the vice chair. She is.
which is quite good because we got
We still get
consistency and continuity.
yes. It's one thing that back in the dim and distance past, there was no continuity. And I remember we had in the early days of me being on the council, we had early complaints from from employees that the chairman and vice chairman, in fact, the personnel subcommittee used to change every year. And that caused a real problem.
What's your proposal now?
My proposal, I would like to propose that the third member of the personnel subcommittee it'd be Dale Birch.
Can I propose Lee?
Can I have a seconder to mine first?
I'm sorry.
Okay, you,
May I propose Lee?
you want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favour of Dale?
Can I just,
Sorry.
can I just say something before you?
Yeah, go on, say something, yeah.
Thank you. I would just say that, I'm a people manager now, and I've been a people manager for the last 15, 20 years. So managing people in a commercial organisation, obviously I'm not an HR person, but I manage people. So I'm fairly au fait with HR requirements, laws, and how people should be treated. And I think it's really important that we have people who are experienced and skilled in managing people on a personnel subcommittee. So that's why I would really like to stand.
Okay. Dale, do you wish to respond? Say a few words?
I wasn't going to, but for the record, I too have managed people, both commercially and having been a senior counsellor at a unitary council. It's also been my privilege to assist in the personnel side of local government. And as a member of the LGA's peer mentor and membership, peer member, I also have experience of helping councillors as well as staff in their roles. So I'm more than happy to allow my name to go forward and to use what has been quite a few years of experience of local government personnel issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if I can make one last point. We're going to lead. The agenda is written as personnel subcommittee to appoint the third member of the personnel subcommittee.
Yeah.
I would point out that standing orders say that there is a minimum of 3 on the personnel subcommittee, not a maximum of 3.
Sorry.
Can I answer why I've written
Go on
it
then.
like that?
Yeah.
Because it's the third member who's coming off. So we are replacing that member.
Which absolutely fine, but I'm just saying that there can be more than 3 people because standing orders say that there is a minimum of 3, not a maximum.
Noted.
Noted, but also I would say that it becomes a challenge if you have too many people on the personnel subcommittee, particularly if you have an even number, it becomes a voting issue. So it's actually better with an odd man.
Well, I don't mind standing as well, actually, if you wanted to promote me, because I used to do people management at the John Lewis Partnership, and I've got tons of experience. So you'd have 5, and you've got extra sets of eyes at the table with relevant and current experience.
I am concerned about
Confident
taking it over, personally taking it over 3 people. I think it does give us a challenge.
Could I challenge also back to you, just
Yeah.
again, devil's advocate, if you've only got 3 people and you can't meet quorum because somebody's ill, you've got better options if you've got 5.
You know, this goes back to the point we made at the May meeting.
Yeah.
You have a real mix of skills around the table. You've got people who are currently engaged in personnel management, and yet again, you are declining offers from us to help support and to get involved. And I just don't know why. I really don't.
Sorry, can I?
Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry. Hey,
Sorry, Hazel.
Well, I would suggest, because I can see the balance of 3 on voting issues, but what about a proposal of a subcommittee member in case somebody can't attend?
You mean a sub?
Yeah, reserve. Yeah.
Reserve.
That that isn't what this is about.
It's not, it's not part of the terms.
This is, it's sorry, Chairman, that was what,
Yeah.
we're not here to decide whether there's 3, 5 or 10 people. The motion that is before us is to replace
The third.
the third that with another person. That's all we're being, if we've got these other things to do, like subs or more people, etc. Well,
Well,
we've
could we
got to
raise
do
it,
that later.
yeah, could we raise it on another agenda then?
That's what I mean.
Got to appoint a fourth member.
Yeah.
No, well, it's fine.
Fifth
Or fourth or fifth.
or sixth or seventh.
That's not like,
Well, given,
It would have to come back to, you know, if you want to bring it back to the next meeting, we could do that.
that would be the sense.
yeah,
Then you've
no,
got a proper structure to it.
I think
It's not just bolted on to another.
take it to the next meeting and have another conversation.
In which case, for the time being, I would like to, we've already got 2 proposals anyway, so I'll take it to a vote. All those in favour of Dale? And all those in favour of Lee? Okay, Dale's in it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10, councillor surgeries. Now, I'm aware that there is a councillor surgery held on the first Saturday of each month, currently in the library. But I think we ought to be holding councillor surgeries in our own building on a regular basis. I don't care whether it's monthly or bi-monthly. But I think it should be open to all councillors to meet members of the public as they wish to turn up. I think it should be completely apolitical. So is my point. So I would my recommendation was going to be that we actually held. Well, actually, I'm happy to discuss it, but you know, as whether it's monthly or bi-monthly. Because the reason I think bi-monthly is because our cycle is bi-monthly, which is why I would suggest that we hold the you know, the shortly before our sessions start, so before the full council meeting. Sorry, Graham.
My question is, when would you mentioned a Saturday, but when were you going to propose that these?
No, I'm saying currently,
Yeah.
there are some councillor surgeries held on a Saturday, first Saturday of each month in the library.
Okay.
I'm suggesting,
Councillor, so.
correct, yes. Though
Has been
I
held already.
have heard comment that they're not, it's not entirely Lib Dem, but there is a mopping great Lib Dem banner outside.
What have you heard? And let's debate that and let me answer that.
Well,
I'll just throw an accusation out there.
That's not part of.
This is part of the debate as to
well,
why.
I was told, I can't remember who I heard it from, but I was told it was that it should be open to all councillors because.
Okay, well, that's different from I've just heard it's not Lib Dem. You just said I heard,
Sorry,
you said.
so your session on a Saturday morning is open to all councillors?
The Lib Dems hold it and it's open for any resident who wants to come and raise any concern. But it's been run and initiated by us. And I understand the Conservatives have done the same. Do we want to hold a joint council surgery? I don't think we do.
Okay.
A resident
So
might want.
let's leave it to.
I've spoken to residents who've been to both, so residents can go to both. Residents can choose who they engage with. Going back to 2 years ago, residents chose who they voted
So
for. Residents can choose who they want to take issues with.
Okay, so there are other councillors outside our 2 parties.
Mhm.
There is an independent.
Yep.
There's a Labour councillor.
Yep.
And I think there should be a surgery at which any councillor can turn up and meet members of the public.
But that doesn't impact your
You
surgery.
can do that. John's very active on social media.
Doesn't stop you doing your Saturday morning.
Yeah, fine. If you want to do,
They're not mutually exclusive.
No, not at all.
They're not, the fact that there would be a council surgery
Yeah.
Just means
as
Andrew's got
opposed
some-
to a party.
I find it very,
surgery.
Two things can exist together.
I find it very
they're-
odd that this
they're
is being
separate.
requested now, when we've been doing it for 2 years. It's like, why has this thought never occurred before?
Well, we do
But then-
occasional surgery as well, so the
I just find
process is,
request very odd.
is there an opportunity
To work
for
together.
people to attend a surgery
And talk,
where the conversation is more likely to be apolitical.
No, you still do that.
Sorry, just referring.
Just confirm, oh, right. Is it worth us seeing what happens?
Yeah. Paul.
On the socials, which I'm sure we all read, there is someone has put forward an argument that a town council should not be political, that should be for the benefit of the town. And I personally am in agreement with that. And, you know, looking at some of the meetings over the past few months, it's got very political. But we're all here trying to represent Sandhurst. So I'm in favour of having a joint councillor surgery.
And I also think it's inclusive of our Labour member and our independent member who can, you know, we just give them an opportunity to hold surgery as well. So
Fine, if you want to hold surgery, that's absolutely fine. As long as it is on the understanding that you do not expect us to not hold it.
that's fine.
And likewise, I would
That's, we can, sorry, that's
Yeah,
what I
anyway.
was just
No,
confirming.
We're not going to
That's your-
suggest that you don't
That's your
hold your own
business.
surgery.
No, we could,
That's not
your
the-
business.
And we'd hold it in the kitchen dancing room, but possibly, would we or?
Well, that's,
Depend what room is available.
We could do it, you know, it could be here, it
Or
could be
little
inside the
fans.
lane, it could be anywhere, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if not,
What's side
So
lane?
we can decide that on a, you know, once we've decided that we're holding them, we can then arrange them. But my proposal would be that we hold them bi-monthly to meet, you know, to meet with the council cycle.
yes, I agree.
It would
Let's
also
do it.
On a Saturday, you said, are you saying on a Saturday? Sorry, I just got confused because two people were speaking.
We've held
Well-
previously on Saturday.
It would have to be on at a weekend because
It would have to
people
be
would,
weekend, yeah.
during the week, they complain if you did it during the
Yeah,
week.
if you did it 10 o'clock.
It's that
You did it.
proposal was being made and then somebody.
No, I didn't actually say what day.
You didn't, did you?
I just said they would be held bi-monthly. I didn't actually decide at this. point.
Yeah, but it came from over here, so I heard Saturday and was like, hang on, was
But the chances
that in
are
there or
it
not?
would be a Saturday. It doesn't have, and it's unlikely to be the first Saturday.
No, that's,
It's more likely to be the
I
fourth
just got,
because it's going to be before council.
yeah, I was just, because I heard two voices, I was just wanted to be clear what the proposal actually was.
The proposal is only to hold them bi-monthly and to make it open to all councillors.
Okay. And a cadence that runs with the meeting schedules.
And occasionally, yeah.
Let's give it
Can
a
I
go.
have a seconder?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Okay, so all those in favour? Those against? Those abstaining?
And if it does, yeah, and if it doesn't work, let's not just pursue it because.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
if,
Got it.
if people,
It would actually also give an opportunity, if you've got anything on neighbourhood plan to display.
Oh, there you go.
God, no.
Sorry, yeah, no, but I know what you mean.
No, it needs to be a short meeting.
Yeah, that is, it's not really talking, for God's sake.
No, I mean, something displayed.
Yeah, no, I know what
Okay.
you mean.
Item 11, sang enhancements.
Oh, yeah. You see that stuff?
An update on sang enhancements?
I've only got what you've got in front of you.
Okay. Well, guess.
So just for a bit of
Some
background,
pages
the
down, though.
the SANG project that BFC are running has been in the offing for what, about 4 years?
Yeah.
See, it was pre-COVID. No, it might have even been longer than that. The actual planning was pre-COVID, then it was agreed, then some work has been coming through in phases. This is the latest phase.
So where is Shepherd's Meadow North?
What they call Shepherd's Meadow North is right at the back where Bottom Meadow is.
Just
the big black
Off the
fence
football
that
pitch.
comes along.
Oh,
There used to be a pond there, tiny little pond years ago, apparently. That was then sort of almost black tarpaulin, and now it's all overgrown. But it was obviously you guys all know more than me, but it's not been a pond sort of
It's not.
in latter years, that's for sure. So that was something that BFC proposed as part of the overall SANG
There's
project.
no cost in this to us.
No,
No.
there's no cost to us.
And this is more a courtesy.
Yeah.
that they're
And if there's
saying.
anything else we would want to recommend, they would then consider.
Now, wasn't that where they wanted to park their cars?
No,
No,
no, this is our side.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
terrible
no, this is
traction.
our side.
wheel spin.
Theirs is within the bottom meadow compound.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the muddy bit below the football.
No,
No,
I know,
No, no.
no.
Kate was talking, it was very much within what.
It's actually within, in the ground and round the back. What used to be the old training.
Yes, I
pitch
know.
down
Yeah,
there.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
This is probably a really silly question, but this is coming from Bracknell Forest Council. They're asking us as a courtesy, who's asking the residents if they've got any ideas or additions?
It's already been long agreed.
Has it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was all done when
That's what
they,
I thought it might have been a silly question.
when they promoted that area as a saying, Bracknell were responsible for doing all that.
Yeah.
They did all their usual.
Okay.
Yeah,
This isn't us.
the
It is.
SANG agreement was done about 2016, I think.
Okay.
And I think the agreement was that that part became Shepherd's Meadow became and part of our land became SANG, and it was an exchange between Surrey Heath Borough Council. Surrey Heath Borough Council didn't have enough of their own land to do a SANG, but they needed more buildings. But to have those more buildings on their land, they had to have some SANG. So they bought some from us.
Okay.
They get the Bracknell Forest get the money
Yeah.
from contributions from developments who are required to provide either on-site biodiversity areas, or if they can't, in order to offset against the SPA,
Mhm.
okay, but if they can't, they have to give a chunk of cash. Right now, that chunk of cash goes into a fund, and then the area that is then set aside as SANG has to have funding to bring it up to a standard that will encourage people to walk their dogs, etc. there, rather than go onto the SPA. So that's what the whole principle of suitable alternative natural green space. The alternative meaning you're not walking on the protected area of the SANG, and the money is already there from various developments that have already happened, and that's probably why you're not getting the same level of urgency to deliver that you would were it alongside a development.
I see. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, that's
Does that
very helpful to
And I think
help me understand, particularly the acronym, because I was going to Google it, but no.
Oh, right, there you are.
I think the initial stuff that they did on Shepherd's Meadow was that all the gates and stiles got replaced. And the first work they did on our land was when they put the wooden walkways in.
Yeah.
What's that?
The ancient woodland.
Ancient land, yeah. So this is the second bit that's happening on our land, essentially, which is proposed.
Nice.
Yes,
Hopefully, will attract some wildlife. We'll see.
attractive scheme.
As long as it's not wildlife.
Right. Okay. Was that an information item? Was it?
It's decisions. I need to just go back and confirm that this council.
Decide
happy
to
with-
accept their
In
work.
that case,
I
propose we don't reject the proposal. That we support their proposal. Sorry, yes.
Seconded, absolutely.
There we go.
Okay, all those in those in favour? It's unanimous. The agenda, press and publicity. I guess the press and publicity will be in the next edition of Sandhurst Pride. We'll be putting in something that says it'll be the last edition.
Yeah.
In the current format.
It's very exciting.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, date of next meeting is the 24th of July. And I will go for exclusion of public and press.
I'll turn the live feed off.
And we'll turn the live feed on.
May I ask, having read the confidential annex, may I ask why it's confidential?
Yes, certainly.
So it says to pass a resolution in accordance with,
Yes, hang on.
Yeah.
You don't just go offline.
We're not.
as soon as you're
We're
off.
offline. Yeah, we're
Well, the
offline.
resolution is to go offline.
Right, okay, so.
It's on the stream.
Okay, we're offline.
I'll second your,
No, it's
Okay.
still live.
It's still live.
It's still live at the moment.
All those in favour of going offline? No, okay. That's carried. We should go offline.